Hey there, welcome to Say More, the podcast where we expand the conversation around what it means to be human. My name is Andy Spray, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Emily Lawyer, licensed professional counselor, and we are answering your real questions, and while we're at it, creating a community where we can grow together, learn how to connect more to self in order to connect more to others and more to God. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
It's a little bit of an exciting day here at Say More.
I'm feeling grateful.
Yes, so we have hit a milestone. It's a baby milestone, but it's a milestone.
We're still feeling it.
This is our 10th episode.
Yes.
Which is very exciting.
Yes,
and
it is.
It's particularly exciting for me because when we started, do you remember the statistic you told me?
I do.
We were sort of kicking around the idea of doing this, and I was a little like, oh my gosh, everybody's got a podcast. Mm-hmm. It's almost kind of a joke right now. Mm-hmm. Any two dinglings with a microphone
and a voice memo
can do a podcast. And you told me a statistic. Uh-huh. What was it?
I told you that if we can get 10 episodes, it automatically bumps us into like the top 25% of all millions and millions of podcasts. So
like of the millions of podcasts that start
of the one. Well, actually, our first milestone was 3 episodes.
Well, okay, 3.
If you get more than 3 episodes, it narrows down the field.
Gotcha.
And then if you reach 10 episodes, it narrows the field even more. So
I told you, I was like, I want to make it to 10.
And we did.
Hi.
Very exciting.
We did it. We're here at 10, and you came along with us. So thank you for joining us on this journey. And we've got more ahead, but getting to 10 sort of helped us frame things and realize we could kind of set up the podcast in a particular way. Why don't you say more about that?
Yes. So we're deeming these first 10 episodes your starter pack.
Yep. Season 1.
Season 1 is some foundational concepts when it comes to connecting to self, connecting to others, connecting to God. And what we wanted to do was offer people an opportunity to sort of practice some of these foundational concepts first, get those under your belt, and then we're all together going to go into season 2 with those so that we can, as my favorite Peter Gabriel song says, we can dig in the dirt a little bit more.
Digging in the dirt. A lot of the questions we get are very specific. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's sort of hard to answer those like super, super specific types of questions if you haven't laid out a concept of what anxiety is or what boundaries even are, right?
Right.
So the first season sort of gets some of that, those broad strokes out of the way, and we're going to paint with a little bit of a finer brush.
Exactly.
In upcoming seasons.
Exactly. And we'll certainly, call back to the first season and maybe even review some of the concepts that we learned together. We're going to use these to keep growing together at even more of a deep level.
I have an idea for an upcoming season. You want to hear it?
Yes, of course.
So I just rolled back into town,
Literally.
I was a night away with my husband. We were coming back home on 95. A tractor trailer takes out a power line, shuts down 95 both directions.
Awful.
We had lots of time together in the car. Now, it was great. We had a good time. We listened to some podcasts. We sang along. This is the joy of my life to marry someone who can sing harmony, by the way. It just makes sing along so much more fun. But I thought we should have a whole season of podcasts. It's like specific to what you're doing. Because I just listen to podcasts when I'm walking, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's like you're stuck in the car podcasts.
Oh.
And it'll be like light marriage counseling. It's like, you got nowhere else to go. Let's get into some issues.
Stuck in the car with your spouse.
Or like stuck in the car with your adolescents. Like, how to talk frankly to your kids about sex. Let's do some discussions. Let's have some relationship models we can break out. I think there's something there.
I think that's being able to put it into that genre is a marketing.
There could just be a whole, you just scroll down to Stuck in the Car podcast episode. And then it's Stuck in the Car with your spouse, Stuck in the Car with your elderly parents. That would be a whole genre in and of itself, right? I think there's something there. I think there's some marketing there. Today, we're talking about empathy.
Yes.
And you came up with a little game for us. Tell us about it.
So, when we're talking about empathy, we're talking about different perspectives and being able to look at something from a perspective that somebody else has. And, as the kids like to say, we call that a POV, point of view. So you and I were talking about, there have been some parts to our friendship where you and I have had a differing perspective. So we're going to play just a little game called From My POV. And we're going to start out with one that happened very recently
Yes.
for us. You and I were on a trip to New York. We were celebrating your birthday. We went to see a Broadway show. We were very excited about the show. We're both walking on the sidewalk in front of the theater.
Well, let me back us up
Okay.
for a second. This is one you and I had been, yes, we took the train up to New York. We were actually seeing a play because we're very sophisticated women about town.
We were.
And somebody passed us. We had a brush with fame.
Yes. We were walking, you and I were walking side by side one direction, and the other person was walking the other way past us.
Yes. And we both acknowledged, like, wow, I can't believe that guy just passed us.
Turned to each other and said the exact same thing.
And he's coming to see the same play that we're seeing.
Yes.
And then we get in our seats, and as we're referencing this moment of fame, realize we're talking about two completely different people.
Even though we saw the same person.
We saw the same person. We knew it was a famous person.
We both immediately turned to each other and said, can you believe we saw him? He's at the same play.
Now, you dug your heels in.
I did.
To the fact that it was Bradley Whitford. Now, this is not a visual medium, so let me tell you if you don't know. If you ever watched West Wing, he played Josh.
Yes.
He was like the snivelly guy from Billy Madison.
Yes.
Later on, he plays Jake's dad in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So he now has white hair.
Yes,
he has white hair and glasses.
Yes, he does.
You are ready to fight me.
Ready.
That this is Bradley Whitford.
Absolutely. Tooth and nail.
Tooth and nail. I know, however, that you were completely wrong. And it is, in fact, John Slattery, who plays, what was his name? He was on Mad Men. He's the guy with white hair on Mad Men.
He was one of the owners of the ad agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember. I should have looked that up ahead of time. But he's got the white hair. He's got a more angular face. And I was like, that's who it was. And you are usually like a very generous, laid back kind of friend. You were like ready to fight. You were kind of aggressive.
You are wrong. I was so
You were so sure.
100% certain
well, then
that you were
I
wrong.
went to go get something at the concessions and I was in line with him and I did not take his picture out of courtesy for him. But I was like, Emily, it is the guy from Mad Men, okay? He lives in New York. I saw his wife, who also played his first wife on Mad Men, and she was in line with him. Other than get over there and hug him for a selfie, I don't know how else to... Did you eventually see my point of view?
I did. Because once you told me those details and you said, and then I believe we, after the play, even looked up some side-by-side pictures. And I had to concede, oh yeah, my POV was wrong.
Your POV was wrong. And it was like, I think we saw Bradley Whitford was like at an event in Texas at that, like he tweeted from...
We did a little bit of social media
We did a little
stalking.
bit of research. It took a little bit of convincing for you to see my point of view.
It did.
But I remain vindicated.
It was absolutely correct. Now, we've also had one that has been a years-long differing perspective.
Which is what?
That is with my long-standing love affair with Subway, the fast food restaurant.
Not the transportation system.
Transportation.
Okay. Somehow the lesser of two you've chosen to love. But continue.
Okay. So my relationship with Subway, honestly, it started off on the wrong foot to begin with. I enabled Subway and Subway has enabled me.
Okay.
We entered into this relationship in the late 90s when the fad was a certain type of eating. And I have a history of disordered eating. But if you remember when Subway first came out, their marketing was all about you could get low fat options.
Oh, okay.
And back then,
it wasn't just eating fresh.
I wouldn't touch a slice of deli meat if you paid me $1 million. So what I gravitated towards was
the entire loaf of bread per meal didn't bat an eyelash. No? Okay.
The fat gram count fit what I needed it to fit.
Gotcha.
And I can remember I played tennis in college, and tennis matches would last 3.5, 4 hours. I'm playing a lot of tennis, and we would stop after the tennis match, often at Subway because we got a very low per diem, and I could get a foot-long veggie sub for $5. It was cheap. It fit what I needed. It was terrible for my body because I needed other nutrients and that nothing. It was
some fiber,
damaging my body. However, Subway was there for me. And that's when my perspective opened up that Subway is one of the best options out there. Now, you and I met, and you had a different opinion.
My opinion of Subway is that everyone in there is running a low-grade fever. And the predominant smell is not baking bread, but bleach solution that somebody has just slopped on every table. That's my perspective of Subway.
You're not wrong. However,
so regardless of what's on my sandwich, I can't get past the sensory.
I couldn't see it though. I had tunnel vision. I couldn't see it because I was so bought in. So the first problem was they got rid of the type of chips that I loved. I minimized my pain. I still could not see it from anybody else's perspective.
Okay, but wait. Were the types of chips baked Lays?
Yes.
Because that's what all they had was baked Lays.
Yes, they got rid of them. I minimized my pain. I looked past it. Things kept going downhill. I still would have staunchly defended Subway. Anytime someone said, why are you still eating there? Because Subway has been there for me in hard times. It's my go-to. Until the Subway near me started closing early, before it was named on the door, the time that it was named. And I went one time and they weren't supposed to be closed and the door was locked, and I started pounding on the door and I could see the employees in the kitchen. They knew I was there and they wouldn't open the door for me. And that was the final dagger to my heart. And I finally had to see it from your perspective. Okay, maybe Subway doesn't love me the way I love Subway.
Some of us were onto it even before the Jared stuff went down. Some of us we clocked it. We clocked it early. And I think those employees are like, we don't care. First of all, there's only one lonely lady who comes to get Subway at this time of night. Shut it down.
It's true.
I love that that's what it took for you to realize maybe they don't love me as much as I love them.
I'm like yelling at the door, Subway, we had a thing.
We had something. Well, both of these are examples of you seeing my point of view.
Yes, correct.
And so I did think of one, and it's very, very recent, like as of this weekend.
Oh, okay. Super recent.
Where I have seen your point of view. So we were talking over the weekend about, you're like, let's tell the people that we are going to this is going to be a season.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And actually, we forgot to even tell the people, but part of being a season is there's going to be a little bit of a break.
Yes.
Just a couple of weeks, but a little bit of a break before the next season of episodes comes out. And I said, no one cares. And really by that, I mean, I just didn't think anybody would notice, because I have never, not once, noticed when a podcast gets released. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I listen to podcasts by turning on my phone when I'm getting in the car or taking a walk. And if there's something there I want to listen to, I click on it. I have never once noticed any kind of, oh, they release every Monday or they release every other Monday. Not once have I ever. That pattern recognition center of my brain, I guess, is underactive when it comes to this. And you and my husband were both like, okay, psychopath. Yeah. Everybody knows.
From our POV.
From your POV. And I'm willing to concede. So this is so recent, I haven't even told you I've seen your point of view on it. I'm willing to concede I think I might be in the minority.
Okay.
So if you are a listener who's like, every other Monday, I want to get, I'm ready for Say More. There might be a couple Mondays in the summer for a little season break. I wouldn't have noticed. I'm on the show and I wouldn't have noticed. My podcast I listen to, they could release one a week. They could release 6 a week. I would never have clocked it, but I am ready to say, I see your point of view.
Okay.
I think people maybe approach it differently than I do.
Well, we could also say if you are in either camp, there is space for you here in the Say More community.
That was a very beautiful adult
Even
way of approaching it.
Even within the two people who are actually hosting the podcast.
We might sometimes view things differently, but that's okay.
Yes.
There's room for you here.
Yes.
We can get it. What was it? Get into the mud?
We can dig in the dirt.
Dig in the dirt.
Yes.
All right. So let's dig in the dirt with our question of the week. Okay. So I'm going to read our question. It's sort of a two-parter. It's kind of asking the same thing, kind of asking something different. But I have been very open about my experience with infertility and pregnancy loss and all that kind of stuff. And so I get this question constantly in my life is, how do I walk alongside somebody who's going through this? Maybe I'm personally not going through it, but how do I walk alongside my sister, my best friend, my cousin, whatever, who's walking in this journey? How do I walk alongside them? My kids are big now. I am not in this season of life, and I still regularly get texts or emails or whatever of like, I know somebody's going through this. What do I do? I almost never get, I'm going through it. What do I do? I get that sometimes, but I much more often get the, how do I walk alongside somebody who's experiencing this? But we at the show got a question that's very similar, which is, how do I walk alongside someone who's experiencing infidelity? Somebody whose marriage is hitting a spot where they're experiencing unfaithfulness, infidelity in the marriage. What do I do? How do I walk alongside that? And as you and I were kind of looking through our questions, it's like they're sort of asking the same thing. What are they asking?
So whether the specifics of infertility or infidelity look different, and we might, even do full episodes on these in later seasons. The how do I walk alongside part of the question includes commonalities in where we're going to kind of camp out today. And that is when I'm walking alongside somebody, regardless of what they are going through, what type of pain they're going through. One of the ways that I can offer support in a deeply, deeply meaningful way is through empathy.
Yeah.
And so that's where we said, let's go ahead and maybe just camp out on that concept, because it's a skill. It's not something that comes naturally for any of us. And so we said, let's see if we can say more about empathy. It's the word gets thrown around a lot in our current vernacular. What actually is empathy, and also what is it not? And so we're going to simplify it down to just those two categories today. We're just going to talk about what empathy is and what it isn't.
All right. Well, let's get into it. What is empathy?
All right. So let's start first with empathy is a skill. It is the most powerful tool of compassion. So right off the bat, we're going to separate out compassion and empathy.
Okay, we're going to define them differently.
They are two different things. If we even go just to the definition of compassion, it means to feel with.
Okay.
Right? Compassion, to feel with. Empathy is a tool, a skill set that allows us to feel with without losing ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it is and it's very much a skill set. It requires learning how to do it. It requires practice. It's like learning to hit a tennis ball or drive a golf ball or sew. It is a skill. Some of us might more naturally lean in to empathy because we more naturally can enter into compassion. As far as empathy itself, though, that is even someone like me, I probably have maybe a little bit of an easier time stepping into compassion than the average bear. That's why I went into the profession I went into. Even so, I have had to train in how to empathize well without losing myself.
So everybody can train. It's like building a muscle. Everybody can do it. Maybe you're more prone to it.
Right.
Naturally, you're a natural athlete, but everybody needs to work that muscle.
Everybody has to work that muscle. And what it does is it allows us to understand what someone is experiencing and reflect that back and reflect back an understanding of what they are experiencing. So we're going to break it down. There's 4 components that we're going to look at. Empathy lets us do these things in a way, again, where we can feel with the other person without losing myself. It allows me to stay boundaried while I'm able to feel with the other person. All right, the first thing to our game, perspective taking.
Okay.
Being able to, one, believe that the other person is seeing it from their perspective. That often is one of the biggest hurdles, because to our point that you and we were even looking at the same person.
Yeah.
And we had a completely different perspective of who that person was. So the very first step is just to believe that this other person's reality is their reality.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it also can feel a little bit scary even. Two people can have a different reality at the same time, and that reality can be true for them. It doesn't mean that the reality of the thing itself is the same. It just means that the reality that I'm experiencing, I fully 100% believed that was Bradley Whitford.
Yeah.
And that was a true reality for me. You 100% believed that was John Slattery, and that was a true reality for you. That is what, when we're talking about believing and listening to someone's perspective, all we are talking about is saying, I believe that that is your reality right now. I don't have to agree with their perspective. It's just saying, I agree or I believe that that is your perspective.
So we're just starting, number one, I believe that is your perspective.
I believe that is your reality and that is your perspective.
Okay.
And then that allows us to stay curious about their experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in that led you to that belief?
Mm-hmm.
What were you paying attention to in that experience that led you to? Tell me more. Tell me more about the story that happened, right? So if I'm able to step into believing and listening to their perspective, it also lets me stay a little more curious and gives them some time to be heard in their reality of what they're experiencing. Okay. First part, taking perspective. Second part, staying out of judgment.
Ooh, okay.
When we hear that perspective, again, this is where we have these foundational concepts we've been working with this whole season, right? Being able to notice what's happening for me while you are telling me about your perspective. Being able to stay out of telling them that they're wrong. That's a wrong. It might be. I actually was wrong. That was not Bradley Whitford.
Right.
It was John Slattery. But being able to empathize is utilizing that skill of being able to say, okay, I hear that's your perspective, and I'm not going to immediately judge your perspective and try to correct it.
I'm not going to immediately try and tell you you're wrong and correct it. Okay.
Exactly. And what tends to happen...
Or get you to see the truth.
Or get you to see the truth, right. What tends to happen is when it comes to especially emotional pain that someone is feeling that I may not be feeling at the exact same time. This shows up in parenting all the time, right? Let's say my 5-year-old goldfish died. Mm-hmm. That goldfish means nothing to me. It means everything to my 5-year-old. And my 5-year-old cannot stop crying about the goldfish. This is why it can be so difficult to empathize in parenting, because we often tend to judge other people's actions or their perspective based on where we shame ourselves. So let's say when I was 5 years old and my beloved goldfish died and I couldn't stop crying, let's say I didn't get a lot of compassion. I didn't get a lot of empathy. I was told, stop crying. That goldfish doesn't mean anything. It's just a goldfish. We'll get you another one, right? So then the narrative starts of, oh, tears over your goldfish means that you're doing something wrong. You're doing something bad. And then I carry that with me into my parenting relationship. It can be a shame minefield when I'm looking to empathize with my child in being able to see their perspective, to believe their perspective,
right,
and then to stay out of judgment for what's happening for them.
Okay.
So perspective taking.
And then staying out of judgment.
Staying out of judgment. The next part is to recognize the emotion that's happening for the other person.
Okay. Recognize their emotion.
Recognizing I can only connect with somebody else's emotion to the extent that I have been able to connect with my own emotion. Again, This is why I said to you when we were planning out this episode, I said, oh no, we would never have started with an episode on empathy, because so many of the concepts and the skills that we've included in these first episodes all play into us being able to empathize with someone else.
Okay.
If you're feeling angry and I have shut off my capacity to connect with my own anger,
then you can't possibly.
I'm never going to be able to
see
empathize.
that in somebody else and have empathy. Okay.
I'm never going to be able to empathize with you in that. I'm going to try to control you. I'm going to probably judge you, honestly, for feeling angry, right? I'm not going to be able to hear your perspective. I'm not going to be able to listen. Be curious about your perspective. And all of that has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me.
Right.
And how I'm showing up in the relationship.
Right.
All right. So we've got perspective taking, staying out of judgment, and recognizing emotion. And then the last piece is communicating our own emotion in a regulated way.
Ooh, okay.
You're feeling devastated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to say, oh, I can see that you're feeling devastated. I feel so much sadness when I see that you're feeling devastated. I'm able to communicate that, to convey that to you in a regulated way. Notice that I was able to name it, right? Name it is a big skill that we've been mentioning quite a bit. My pain did not show up as me breaking down in uncontrollable.
As me getting devastated.
Right, exactly. As me being out of control of my emotions. And I'm still feeling that emotion. It's just I'm communicating that to you in a very different way. So perspective taking, being able to hear, believe, stay curious about the other person's perspective, staying out of judgment when it comes to their perspective, recognizing the emotion that's happening for them, and then recognizing the emotion that's happening for me and communicating the emotion that's happening for me in a regulated way. All right, now I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a hack to do all four of those things in one phrase. And you and I are going to try it out together.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay? All right, so we're going to practice with a phrase. The phrase is, it makes sense that you're feeling fill in the blank because fill in the blank.
Okay. It makes sense that you're feeling
fill in the blank
because
fill in the blank. All right, let's go
It
back.
makes sense that you loved Subway because you grew up in a food desert that didn't have a lot of better choices. I'm listening and not judging. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, do you see what you were able to do in that?
Yeah.
You were able to believe my perspective.
Sure.
Right? It makes sense. That's the it makes sense part.
It makes sense. Here, we can work on a real example.
Yeah. We were able to stay out of judgment.
Yeah.
Because you're validating. It makes sense. You were able to recognize the emotion I was feeling. It makes sense that you feel sad that you're unable to go to Subway anymore. And you're communicating what was happening for you in a regulated way through that whole phrase, right? You're saying, oh yeah, I'm able to sit with you in this. I care about you. I can see that you're feeling sad and I feel sad about that too, right?
Yeah.
All of those four steps can get communicated in that phrase. It makes sense that you're feeling fill in the blank because fill in the blank.
Okay.
And again, just to have a go-to in our back pocket when we're practicing a new skill can be really, really helpful. So if we're naming that's what empathy is, that's what we've got those covered. All right, let's talk about what empathy is not.
Okay, what is it not?
And I hear these a lot.
Like you hear people incorrectly labeling empathy a lot?
Because to that point of being my capacity to be able to connect with somebody else is contingent upon my capacity to connect with myself.
Right.
If I just haven't had the opportunity to practice that for myself, if I haven't had that modeled for me,
Sure.
then empathy is going to be really difficult for me.
It makes sense that you can't have
it. It makes sense that you're unable.
Because you grew up with emotionally distant parents. It makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense, right? All right. The first one, empathy is not agreeing with a distorted narrative.
Oh, okay.
Empathy is prioritizing safety and connection first.
Okay.
I'm going to say that once more.
All right, say it again.
There is nothing else, quite honestly, that anybody gets from this entire first season.
Okay, this is the one. Pay attention. This is the part you need.
Empathy does not mean I am agreeing with their narrative.
Okay.
It does not mean that I am saying your narrative is correct.
Yeah.
Or even that your narrative is the best narrative to have. All I'm doing when I'm empathizing is saying I am going to choose to prioritize safety in the relationship and prioritize connection with you first.
Okay.
You can get to a different perspective, a different narrative to truth. Absolutely, that's an important part. It's just that when we're talking about empathy, me being able to step into this type of connection with the other person's emotional part of their brain.
Yeah.
That is how I prioritize connection first. So empathy is not agreeing with the distorted narrative.
Not just because you say it, then I would have to go, oh my gosh, you're so right. That's very true. Okay, that's not what empathy is. Got it.
It is prioritizing safety and connection first. There's also a fear sometimes, and these are legitimate fears and legitimate concerns, that if I empathize with somebody, I'm just going to make the emotion grow bigger.
Yes, I actually hear that a lot.
Yes, and honestly, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
That's not always a bad thing.
Right.
Again, as we've also talked about, what we want to happen with an emotion, when it comes online, I actually want that emotion to grow a little bit, like a wave, so that it can reach its peak. And then the energy of that wave can carry through and let the emotional wave move through the body. So if that emotion does get a little bit bigger, it's not always a bad thing.
This is one that comes up specifically with the infertility one a lot, is people will say to me, it's like, well, I didn't want to remind them of it. I didn't want to make them feel worse. And I always tell people, they're already sad.
Yeah.
They already remember that they lost a pregnancy or whatever the scenario is. You reaching out and making a connection does not remind them that they're all of a sudden like, oh, you're right. I'd forgotten about that. Right? And I think it's our own discomfort with big feelings. Like you said, people, it might make the emotion grow. It's because we're kind of uncomfortable with big feelings.
Yes.
And especially big feelings in other people.
Yes.
And that's where I see people shying away a lot or kind of avoiding making those connections with others who are going through something.
Yes. And to that point, right? If I am operating out of that belief, there's a different understanding of what empathy actually does in that.
Right.
And the idea of, again, prioritizing connection is allowing the other person to get that experience of somebody is with me in that emotion.
Somebody is with me.
And if I am able to have somebody with me, that support lets me feel more of the emotion. It's very, very common for me to have someone sit in my office and I offer some empathy and they start crying. And then they'll say to me, I've never cried about this before. Probably because there just hasn't been enough safety for you in the empathy piece. So in that way, right, the emotion did get bigger and the emotion did what it needed to do. It produced tears, and then those tears were able to happen.
It had to rise so that it could fall back out.
Empathy is also not, the goal of empathy is not to make somebody feel better. Although often that does happen, like I just mentioned. The goal of empathy is to allow them to not be alone in their emotion. And again, this one shows up in parenting a lot, right? My job as a parent, I have nothing but grace and compassion for this belief My job as a parent is not to remove any discomfort from my child.
Right.
It's not to protect my child from feeling emotional discomfort or rescue them from feeling discomfort. The best thing I can offer my child is to give them the experience of I am with them when they feel that discomfort, and then they get the experience that they can move through it. They get the experience that they can feel the pain and move through the other side and still be okay.
Well, and this is again another one in years of people talking to me about this. It's like somebody's going through, a friend of ours is going through a miscarriage. Let's take her shopping. Mm-hmm. Let's go to the spa so she can just take her mind off things.
And it's well-meaning.
It's well-meaning, but it's also like, I think that almost drives the point home more that you're alone in your grief. Mm-hmm. That you are alone in your suffering, because even the closest people who want to be there for you think being there for you means telling you to ignore it and feel better.
Right. Well, and again, this is what empathy allows us to do, right? It allows me to give that person the experience of you're not alone in the emotion, while at the same time providing a boundary for me to not lose myself.
Right.
It allows me to be able to feel like I'm going to be okay while I'm sitting with you in this emotion, which is a very necessary thing, especially if you are sitting with someone who is experiencing some really big and intense pain.
Right. And I think, to your point about kids, it's like as a parent, it is very hard to watch your kids struggle.
Terribly difficult.
Terribly hard. And I think to sit in that discomfort is something a lot of parents don't do. And that's why you rush right to, I'm going to make you feel better. I'm going to buy you something. We're going to just get past this. I'm going to rescue you. I'm going to solve the problem that you're having.
Right.
Because it's really hard to be with your child in a situation like that.
Of course. And to be an unfeeling parent is a whole different ball of wax, right?
Right.
So again, we're bringing
empathy
a
is
lot
not
of compassion.
rescuing them from their feelings.
No.
It's not solving the problem.
No.
It's not making them feel better, I think is how you worded it.
Right.
That's what empathy is, not making them feel better.
No, although as a byproduct, often that does happen. The people who are able to empathize the most are people who have the most developed boundaries. I am actually able to go deeper and deeper to sit with them in deeper and deeper pain for longer stretches, the more developed my own boundaries are. And this skill of empathizing is a tremendous way to be able to stay boundaried around what's happening for me so that I don't, like we said earlier, lose myself or join in with the emotion, carry their emotion. Empathy allows me to stay boundaried while I can provide that experience of being with the other person. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if we're naming, these are all the things that it's not. Let's also name one additional point. If I find myself with these particular concerns, which are all valid, and if we were able to hear every single person's story and get all the pieces of the puzzle, it would make complete sense why someone has the concerns that they have around empathizing with someone else. We're also going to, in a very, very compassionate way with a lot of grace, we're going to name a hard truth.
All right.
If I have concerns, well, if I empathize, it's just going to be agreeing with the distorted narrative. If I empathize, I'm going to make the emotion worse, or I'm going to make them feel pain. Those concerns unearth a clue for me that I am actually more concerned with controlling the other person than connecting with the other person.
Okay.
And that is again, we're going to bring nothing but compassion to that. Once you are able to explore and figure out why it feels safer to try to control somebody else than to connect with them, it always makes sense. It's just that is something that as we are walking alongside someone, we want to be aware of that. We want to be able to say, yeah, there is something in me that wants to control their emotion rather than connect with it. I wonder what's going on with me there. That's not congruent with the values that I have about how I want to show up in a relationship. So I wonder what's going on with me there. We get to choose, right? Once we explore that, but I want to be aware of what's happening for me so that I can do something different if I want to. And this is, again, recognizing what is happening with me, connecting with myself, and owning that is how I'm going to be able to ultimately walk differently with someone else, and most important of all, to be able to walk differently with God, because that's going to come into play as well.
Yeah. And this is, again, sort of the theme of these first 10 episodes of, if you can't connect with yourself, or a better way to say it is maybe you can only connect with others as well as you've
I've connected with my own story.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, we're going to offer nothing but compassion to that. If we were to be able to sit down and explore everybody's story, it would always make sense why there have been roadblocks there. What we're doing together as a community is saying, can we bring a lot of grace there? Can we bring some compassionate curiosity there to unearth those things? And then maybe practice some of these additional skills in a different way so that I can move through.
So we've got some reflecting to do. We've got some muscle building to do when it comes to empathy. And we're going to keep doing it together. And we're so thankful that you've been here with us for these first 10 episodes. And we hope you're here with us for 10, 20, 100, who knows how many more.
I'm looking forward to it.
Because we're journeying together as we really do genuinely want to connect more with ourselves. And this is an ongoing process. Emily, you're still learning how to connect more with yourself.
Absolutely.
And so we're in it together. We're connecting more with ourselves, and we're going to keep going forward. We want to hear from you. Send us your questions. Make sure you're checking the show notes for information on how to do that. We're going to get a little bit finer details as we have some upcoming episodes, and we're so thankful that you're here on this journey with us, and we will see you next time.